So what's the latest with Project Marvel? And what about some reactions to what Mayor Jones had to say? We're going to do that and more with Spurs political consultant Andrew.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hey, it's hump day, halfway through the week. We're getting there, and we'll get to do it right here on Locked On Spurs. As always, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, KENS 5 Plus app, YouTube. You know where to go. Do that ASAP. We definitely appreciate it. Just keep on subscribing. Season's right around the corner, but they say the network gives you the local vibe, the local feel. Well, I think it's safe to say, right? What is everybody talking about locally here in San Antonio? Project Marvel. It is dominating the offseason. And it sparked up again this past Monday when Mayor Jones, Ortiz, Ortiz Jones, when she was a guest on KENS 5 TV. And she had some remarks that she had to feel, during the interview, to come out about what she sees going on currently with Project Marvel. We're going to hear from her in just a bit, but we're going to bring in our guest, Spurs political consultant, Andrew Solano. He's going to go over the latest on Project Marvel. Is there any movement between the parties? What about that term sheet? He'll react to what the mayor had to say on Monday, and then kind of gives you a heads up on if you are pro Marvel, pro prop A and B, how you can help out, how you get yourself a lawn sign if you want one, so much more. Let's not waste any time. Let's go to bring in our guest. He is Mr. Andrew Solano. Andrew, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, Jeff, good to be with you, man.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back. It's starting, man. You got both camps. They held rallies. Spurs had one this past weekend. Manu was there, Buford was there, Peter J. Holt was there, the whole gang was there, getting everybody to go out and vote yes for Prop A and B. But also on the same side, the following day, those that were against Project Marvel, they held their rally. It looks like the campaigning has begun, hasn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, man, we're excited. I just wanted to first thank the nearly 1,000 folks who joined us this past Saturday. We had a great time. The rain came and went and cooled things down, which was nice. And as folks made their way from the UTSA game, it was a packed house. And so it was the first opportunity that supporters have had a chance to come together and support the campaign. So it was great for someone like me who works on campaigns to finally get to that point. And so now moving forward, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit, but moving forward, just making sure that people are armed with the right information. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And so our job is to make sure that if you have questions as a voter or you're ready to support the campaign, that we're providing you that information, as well as yard signs, campaign shirts, and all of that. So thanks for the opportunity.
No, not a problem. It's a good way to start there. Unfortunately, I did not, was unable to make it, but I know the KENS crew was there, so they had me covered at that point. They covered my butt for that event. Yeah. But nevertheless, what did you feel was the vibe of those that showed up? Obviously, they're pro Prop A, Prop B, Project Marvel. They're pro that. But did you encounter some residents still kind of scratching their heads like, okay, what the bleep is going on?
Yeah, well, first of all, we missed you, Jeff. Also, we missed out on the GOAT. Manu was there, and so it looked great happening there, as well as some community support and Spurs ownership. And so, yeah, I mean, the vibes that I got were just, it's what San Antonio does best. We come together and we party and we get together around great causes. And so, for me, it was seeing, families come together, with their kids. My family, my mom was there, got a great picture with RC. And so, that was the vibe that we wanted people to come out, but still answer questions that people had. Look, there is no bad questions. There's a lot of information. This is an important vote that's coming in November. And, it's understandable that people who even are paying attention don't have all of the facts that they need. That's our job, right, on the campaign, to provide that information about how, there are no costs to San Antonio and Bexar County families, right? There's no local taxpayer money, whether that's sales tax or property tax. It's zero. And so, we want to clear up those. And what we're finding, which is great to hear, is that as soon as we're able to get in front of someone, provide them with that context, with that information, then it makes sense for them. They say, oh, well, okay, so what do we get out of it? If we're not paying, that's great. What are we getting out of it? And so we can explain to them it's economic development, it's jobs, it's providing that. I mean, like I've said before, last time we were on together, any city would kill for this type of opportunity, given what the economy is doing in this country right now and really around the world, to be able to do what, let's be honest, city council are there for. Elected officials are there to provide opportunities. This is using economic tools that are available to do precisely that. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so the money that's going towards this is not only being paid by visitors and tourists, it's also money that's being directed right now at the state. And so this is allowing us to recoup that money, to have it redirected so that we can control that money, invest it in ourselves, and provide those opportunities moving forward.
Was there a common thread of misunderstanding that kept on popping up during the meeting? I'm pretty sure you had people that showed up had questions for you, or maybe you heard questions being asked. Was there like a common misunderstanding?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually the biggest question is actually the easiest to answer. But that misunderstanding is that somehow we local taxpayers are paying for this, and it's just not true. And I think part of it is because we have been hearing from folks who oppose this saying things like, if you're a city of San Antonio resident and you're going to pay twice, then you should vote twice. And that's just, unfortunately, that's just not true. And I think anybody who's putting that out there knows that to not be true. And look, we can argue on, the technical pieces here and there, but the fact remains that unless you're a resident who is renting hotel rooms downtown or is renting cars, which I will admit, sometimes that happens. But it is such a small on the margins, right? I mean, when we're talking about the greater, San Antonio and Bexar County area, the millions of people who are here and who visit, the vast majority of people who are going to be paying for this on the venue tax side. Because remember, that's what's on the ballot in November. It's not the city's portion. It's nothing else. It's that Proposition A for the rodeo and Proposition B for the Spurs Arena. And so that's what's on the ballot. Those are paid for. It's very clear with venue tax dollars.
What is, real fast, we're going to the next question. It's funny you mentioned how rare it is that you'll find a resident having to perhaps go into paying those fees, because of the rentals and the, hotels. A friend of mine actually has dual residency. He owns a property and a home in San Antonio, but he lives in Conroe. So he physically has it. So he came to visit his daughter and had to stay at a hotel. So that's so rare that will happen. Most of us, are staying in San Antonio, will not have to face that. But Andrew, what is the latest as far as what's going on with negotiations? We all know that this is a non-binding term sheet, but whatever you can share, don't want to get you in trouble now, but as much as you can share, what is the latest as far as progress?
Yeah, well, listen, the term sheet was passed back in August by City Council, San Antonio City Council. And so that, as you stated, is a non-binding agreement. And so, that is laying the framework. And the most important piece about that, as the council members who supported that item moving forward, was so that for all of us who are going to the ballot in November can go in with this degree of confidence that we know at least that the city, the county, and the Spurs have committed funds to this arena, what those funds are, and that when you're going in, that there's no question as to, well, the city hasn't voted yet as a body, the governing body, city council, so they're thinking about maybe X amount, or they're thinking about, no, the city has on the record gone on and voted to approve that amount of $489 million And the other piece of that really helps out, I think, the voter going into November is that the Spurs are on the hook, right, for not just the $500 million for the arena, not just the $1.4 billion in development, not even just for the $75 million that's going into the community benefits agreement, right? That's all above and beyond. But that's even before we're actually talking about the cost overruns. And as anybody knows, if you're paying for, just a home or building out a business or anything like that, you're in construction, even a year or two out, months out, things go up. And again, that level of certainty in this economy moving forward, I think, is the new normal. So, it's almost a guarantee that the price is going to go up, but having that contractually be on the Spurs, that they're the ones that are on the hook in their commitment of over $2.1 billion for this entire project.
It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. The grape, ginger, and lime flavor shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost, perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Hey, what's the wildest shot you ever made? Was it a fluke? Was it a well-calculated miracle? Hey, this is where those memories get pretty much ingrained in your brain there. And why not make it even better with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion? Look, you can do so many things with it, give you a boost, whether you're on the green, if you're looking for that hole-in-one. Hey, maybe it's not a fluke. Maybe you just need a little extra boost. That's why you need to get 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The great ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the death card. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee that trip up. Visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters Tournament. Ends October 31, 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll hear from Mayor Jones in just a few minutes. Again, she was a guest on Ken's 5 TV this past Monday. We'll play it for you, and then we'll have Andrew react to that. And he's kind of already hitting some stuff that the mayor brought up. But again, we'll play that just to be fair on this episode of Locked On Spurs. Andrew, I want to go back to that get-together that the Spurs hosted to get out the vote yes for Prop AB. Obviously, those residents, fans that showed up want this to push forward. But as mentioned, there was a group that had their rally against Prop A and B and Project Marvel. Just as for y'all, how much do y'all internalize what those residents, and yeah, there are some fans that are saying no to this. Do you think their issues with it, perhaps in a weird way, kind of helps bridge a gap? So you can hear what they're saying. You're like, okay, it's X, Y, and Z that y'all have an issue with. Let's work this out. How do y'all take the pushback, those that are against it, and use it for y'all's platform to get the vote out and vote yes?
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point, Jeff. Look, at the end of the day, this is the beauty of a democracy, right? I'm not aware of any election where 100% agrees on one issue. And so this is no different than that. I think people, are encouraged to ask questions and to get out there and put their voice forward on any issue, including this one, right? Again, as I said earlier, this is an important decision. It's going to impact all of us. And so for people who have questions, like who are opposing this right now, what I can share with you is that since we've last spoken, I have been out at neighborhood meetings. I've gone to meetings where, they're in very close proximity to where the proposed arena would go. I've been to others who are further out in the suburbs. I'm going to another one tomorrow out in off of Bandera, so further north. And I'm answering questions that people have that are very legitimate and fair questions. But again, it's anecdotal, but what I'm hearing is that people have questions about who's going to pay. There's still uncertainty around that because they are hearing that local taxpayers are going to pay for this, and also that it's going to somehow negatively impact our budget or our deficit moving forward, or conversely, by getting this done, that it can help us, right, by taking revenue. So I'll also just make sure and understand that for listeners, the first tip-off would be scheduled should everything move forward after the November vote, with construction lasting, and this is all in the detail in the term sheet. That tip-off wouldn't be until 2032 in the new arena, right? So let's just be clear. I know I've heard a lot of people, because it's happening concurrently with the city's budget right now and the counties, that this somehow, starts tomorrow or in November after the vote, and all of a sudden there's revenue to share with both local governing bodies, and that's just not the case, right? There is no even revenue to discuss until 2032, and so those are the common misconceptions that I think that are out there. But again, we look forward to visiting with people. There were still people, to your point, who showed up on Saturday at our launch, who are diehard Spurs fans, but who still have questions. And that's what we were there walking around, our team being able to provide that. But people feel good once they understand, look, this is, again, not happening on the backs of the local taxpayers, right, and that the visitors are paying for this. We're the ones benefiting, and that at the end of the day, this is going to provide that impact. It's not just about the place, but it's about coming together as a community.
You mentioned that Manu showed up, that Peter J. Holt was there, Buford was there, a lot of the executive staff showed up. Let's start off with Manu. Again, I was able to make it, but for those fans who don't live in San Antonio and probably couldn't make it, because Andrew, I'm telling you, this topic is now a global topic with a lot of fans. I've had fans from Korea, on X repost my stuff, and they'll translate it for Korean Spurs fans. I've had Polish fan bases use, information that I share on X and use it and translate it into Polish for those Polish fans that are so interested in it. Even in France, obviously, you see French fans saying, like, what's going on? They're freaking out because they're not here. So what was the message that Manu, Peter J. Holt, and Buford, what were their messages when they spoke? Well, Manu got on stage, and I believe Peter J. also got on stage. But what were their messages?
Yeah, look, I think for any of the players that have come out, you heard Sean, Elliott at City Council a few weeks back, talk about, as young men coming to San Antonio, being drafted by the Spurs, playing here, and really seeing the transformation that has taken place. And so I think that's where their comments and perspectives are based out of, right? Having grown up essentially the formative years of their lives, right? Having played for the Spurs, realizing what it means to the community. And what I really like what Sean has said is about, coming here as a young man and really being put to the task as an ambassador for the Spurs, right? Which just highlights the community impact that the Spurs had been doing for decades, right? And so that gets lost, I think, a lot of this because we're so focused on the actual arena. But again, what we're talking about here is all in addition to, right? Not in lieu of any of that community impact. And so I think that's really important that the Spurs have. And look, I think that's what something everyone agrees on. Even the opposition has been very clear that, it's not about the Spurs necessarily, right? Everyone loves the Spurs. It's just how this deal is coming together. And so that's, again, it's fair. But again, hearing from some of the greats who can talk to their unique perspective, having essentially grown up here and then retired and seeing what the community has been able to do and give back. And they've been a part of that. So you're hearing that from them. And also from, Peter John Holt, from his perspective, right? He does a lot for the community outside of just the Spurs, right? I mean, he is a huge advocate in our community for childcare, early childhood development. They just opened up a new space a few weeks ago as well. So again, those are all things that are happening, parallel to the work that we're doing. And so it's having them get up there and talk about that commitment, reminding folks that this is what this is all about and their commitment to San Antonio moving forward.
Absolutely. He is Andrew Solano, Spurs political consultant here on Locked On Spurs, to catch up with us and everybody watching right now. The latest on Project Marvel, or the lingering questions that residents still have, and of course, recapping what happened this past weekend with the Spurs get out the vote pep rally, or they had for those that are for Project Marvel. Now, this past Monday, Andrew, San Antonio Mayor Ortiz Jones, she was a guest on KENS 5 TV. and she had some points to make. Now, it's a little bit of a long clip, Andrew, but I think it's valid to play it through for you to react to it. Maybe clear up some things that perhaps is just getting lost in translation. So we're going to play that right now. So stand by, everybody.
The full independent economic analysis that we need before November. I think it is still possible for the questions that are outstanding. Some of those questions alluded to by Mr. Sanders, who you just had on here. And I think those answers will be important as voters head to the polls November 4th.
Yeah. Were you keeping a track of the rallies that were happening this weekend? The Spurs held a big one promoting their campaign, and then as well as Metro Cops Metro also talking about their thoughts about the whole project.
Well, look, I think it's important. I think there needs to be a public dialogue on $800 million. Again, I continue to say, if you're a city voter, you pay twice, right? You pay $311 with the county and you pay $489 with the city. So I've been very clear. I will continue to advocate that if you pay twice, you should vote twice. Cops Metro, I think, is laying out some of the questions that are still outstanding among the community, and certainly the Spurs have their right to make their case as well.
I think it's interesting, Professor Saunders had said there's no guarantee in that term sheet that says the Spurs are going to lay out that money. Is that something that we need to put in an agreement that, look, it's guaranteed you're going to lay out this money?
Well, look, I think this was, I hate to be a little bit of a I told you so, but this is exactly why I wanted more time with the term sheet. Again, we had all of 96 hours from the time we got it until when some of my colleagues wanted to vote on that. And that was all absent public discussion. This is my concern as we head into November, and I've said it repeatedly, which is if folks don't feel like they have all of the information, or that the ball has been hidden from them in some form or fashion, or they haven't had sufficient input on $800 million of their money, I don't care what anyone says, it's the people's money, then they may vote on principle to say no in November. I just looked the ballot language last night, in fact, on Prop B, which is about that money that would go to the arena. It doesn't even include $311 million. So folks should know that. And that's why I think it's really important. Again, if you pay twice, and city voters, you live in the county, you live in the city, so you pay twice, you should vote twice. I'll keep working toward that.
Yeah. What would be a realistic timeline for an economic analysis if you choose to move forward with that?
We will move forward with that. I think it depends on, the length of it. I think, again, though, in the immediate, getting some answers to some of the questions that Haywood Sanders just laid out, that I think is totally doable. Again, those questions are based on some of the Spurs' own analysis. Again, we don't have any analysis other than what the Spurs have provided.
Well, and again, it's not to disparage the Spurs or we can't trust them. They've been wonderful for this city.
And no one's saying that.
Yeah,
and so
I just wanted to make sure.
Well, and Barry, hey now, come on now.
No,
no one is
$500 million.
That's right. We should have the data. This isn't about have they been good to us or not. We got to be good to ourselves and get the data that we deserve before we invest. And again, what's top of mind for me? We're going through this budget season right now. We're finalizing that budget. I was just at and this is actually how it comes up when I talk to folks, right? Just last week, I was in D3. I was at the Lions Senior Center, and I was doggone yelling into the mic. You know why? Because their HVAC system isn't working the way it needs to, and they had to bring in big fans. And so when folks hear about, on top of, I just had a woman, frankly, providing some, let's just say, strong feedback on the infrastructure projects in her neighborhood that she's been yelling about for years on her neighbor in Channing Street, 300 block Channing Street. And so when folks are asking for these kinds of things, and then they hear about, us, potentially investing in $489 million toward a Spurs arena on top of some of the other infrastructure related bills on there, it's tough for them. It's tough for them because, again, they feel like, hey, I've got real needs. I've been trying to raise, how are we meeting the needs in our community before we think about some of these other major investments for which they also feel like they don't have enough information or there's been sufficient public discussion.
They're giving us the wrap here, but real quickly, how much does this affect the budget process at all?
It could. This is why I've been asking for revenue sharing. we've got a budget gap. The budget gap in 27 is $150 million. And if we don't help ourselves, that grows to $220 million. So you know what helps us? If we get a cut of tickets from the Spurs, if we get a cut from the concessions, if we get a cut from the parking, when a company gets to put their name on that new arena, that's almost $10 million a year. Wouldn't it be nice to get a little bit of a cut from that? So when they get theirs, we get ours. Wouldn't that be nice? I think that's only fair as well.
Close the gap for sure. Unfortunately, Mayor, we're out of time.
Thank you.
All right, well, there you have it. That was Mayor Ortiz Jones with KENS 5 TV. Now, Andrew, you already kind of alluded to some maybe some clarifications that for Mayor Jones, but you just heard that clip. What is your reaction as the Spurs political consultant to what the mayor had to say?
Sure. Look, we're all entitled to our opinions. I can tell you and the listeners what I hear when I'm out there at neighborhood meetings. And the reason there's confusion is because of comments like, if you're a city of San Antonio resident, that you're going to pay for this twice, right? Which again is just not the case. It's not the case on the $311 million from the county. It's not the case on the $489 million on the city's portion. Mm-hmm. And so, I think it's important. We can disagree or debate on the facts, but the facts are in this case that this will not be paid for by local taxpayers. It will be paid for by visitors. It remains the fact that the deficit that the city does have in both 27 and 28 that was alluded to, and any kind of revenue sharing, to imply that revenue sharing in an agreement today would impact or help the budget deficit for the city in 27 and 28, when the stadium wouldn't even open until 2032. Is just, it's hard for people to wrap their head around that. And so a lot of what I'm doing is going out there and just answering those questions. And again, it's very simple when people ask those, and I can provide that context for them, that they say, well, then, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that. And so, that's my reaction. I've been out there at meetings too. And, it's unfortunate. I've been to a lot of the meetings. Look, I've worked at the city for almost 20 years in a lot of different capacities, going to many of the neighborhood community centers that the mayor had mentioned. And there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's the job of city council, is to try to figure out when times are tough, like they are, to try to figure out best ways and how to allocate those dollars. But what I can tell you is that, nothing of the, Proposition A or B on the ballot in November would impact any city community center, because again, those dollars are paid for by visitors, and the city's portion, which is again not on the ballot, can't be used for infrastructure or basic city services. And so again, anything to the contrary, or who says that taxpayers are going to be paying for this is just misinformed. And I'll leave you with, again, the fact is that this is going to be paid for by the tourists and the Spurs. The Spurs are the hook for $2.1 billion in this deal. That's their commitment. They've been very clear from the beginning, with zero cost to San Antonio families.
Yeah, and I think, even for me, who's, I've listened to you, now twice now, I've read the term sheet itself. I can get why perhaps somebody would get confused, because you just heard the mayor say, well, a professor said, the guarantee is not, the money the Spurs are going to chip in, is not guaranteed. But you read the term sheet, and I believe, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it pretty much says the Spurs are on the hook, right?
Yeah, it's, again, I don't know how to be clearer. And look, the residents are smart, and the voters, we got to give them credit. They are the ones who are going to be voting on this. And, we've gotten a lot of great questions and feedback. And again, once you put the factual information in front of them, have them read the term sheet, because of reporting like you and KENS 5 and other local stations, it's pretty clear. And even though it's a non-binding agreement, right, again, it sets the framework in writing that those are the dollar amounts that the city, the county, and the Spurs are committed to. Now, obviously, moving forward post November, should this pass, well, then that's when the finer details will be, finalized. But to again, to say otherwise, that these amounts are not just clearly not in the document, or yes, the 311 isn't in the bond language. It's very clear for people when we go talk to them, when they ask, will I be paying for this? And I ask them, well, do you live in the county and the city? Do you go, rent hotel rooms, and do you rent vehicles? And look, again, I will admit that maybe yes, for some people, I get it. But the vast majority of people, just like those who are able to travel, and you look at most of us don't even realize it, but you travel anywhere, and you will see that there's a tax that you're paying for some kind of venue in some city around this country. And so, again, I think when you explain it to people in that way, they're pretty clear on wanting to support this deal.
What was your reaction to hearing the mayors pretty much say that, yeah, she is going to go forward with an independent study?
Yeah, again, that's the prerogative. When you win that office, that's what you get to do. But again, as we've got that civic lesson for all of us a few months ago, right? That our level of government here in San Antonio is a strong manager form of government. And so if this body decides that they want to move forward with that, that's up to them. But as we heard clearly when the majority of city council passed this, that they wanted to move forward with the independent economic study that had already been concluded, and wanted to move forward with getting that information to the voters to make an informed decision in November.
Absolutely. And then one more reaction to what the mayor just had to say, because I know you're short on time here, but towards the end, she was talking about, hey, wouldn't it be nice if the Spurs give us a cut from the naming rights and from the ticket sales? Do you think there's some confusion there with her, or is that something that still needs to be ironed out with all parties involved?
Look, I can't speak to that. All I can tell you is that if there was some kind of revenue sharing that were negotiated, there's no revenue on this arena until 2032. Again, that's very clear, and so what I can tell you is that as a part of the community benefits agreement that this council included in that term sheet, there is $75 million that would be paid out every year annually, $2.5 million for the next 20 years. So I don't know, hypothetically, what type of revenue sharing that the mayor wants to look at. But I can assure you that, this agreement would include $75 million. And I'll just point out to the listeners again on why that matters. The Oklahoma City Thunder, as has been widely reported, on their $900 million arena that's just about to get underway in construction, the Thunder as an organization paid $50 million. So when we're talking about the Spurs community benefits agreement, that's not even for the arena. That $75 million it can go a long way. Again, having served on council as a key staffer in a lot of these offices, I can tell you, $2.5 million goes a long ways when you're talking about a budget deficit. So really, if there are talks about a deficit, I know that this council is looking at trying to plug a hole to find additional police officers for $2.1 million. And so when you want to talk about the benefits that this agreement could bring to you now, right? Not in 8 years when the arena, opens, but right now, look at the $75 million that the Spurs are going to be giving in this agreement just for the community benefit agreement. That's on top of the $500 million for the arena and on top of the guaranteed development.
Absolutely. And sometimes I wonder if the residents are kind of blurring the lines between a private organization, private company, Spurs, and what the city's commitment is. So sometimes I think, fans may blur that line and not see they're all working together, but they all have their independent goals. City does, sure. The county does, and the Spurs do.
And I'll just remind people on that point, Jeff, that Project Marvel also gets conflated in this a lot. And again, it's understandable because they're kind of used synonymously. But again, the arena is one piece of Project Marvel as a whole, right? The Project Marvel is the city's plan to revitalize the urban core around the convention center. And that includes the Alamo Dome and hotels. The arena is one piece of that. And that is the only piece of Project Marvel that is going to be on the ballot this November.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think once it all said and done, the arena is up and going, and we're looking at the future. I think the city owns it. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Is it something like that?
Yeah. Look, we've spent a lot of time focused on a very important piece of this, which is the number one question people ask: who's going to pay for this? And once we get past that part, then we can get into the really, really interesting parts of this, right? Not just to mention the city's the contribution from the community benefits agreement, which is at $75 million. But yeah, things like the cost overruns I mentioned earlier, and things like this is going to be the arena will be owned by a city-owned entity, right? And that's important. And that's not, again, we can argue facts or we can argue, positions on this, but not facts. And the fact is that the Spurs will help pay the city's portion of that $489 million with ground leases, and that includes $4 million per year for the arena, and 2% on top of that per year after that. So for those 30 years for that lease, the Spurs will be leasing the arena to play there from the city for $4 million a year, and every year after that increases by 2%.
There you have it. He is Mr. Andrew Solano, Spurs political consultant, joining us once again right here on Locked On Spurs to catch us up on the latest on Project Marvel, reacting what the mayor had to say this past Monday, and so much more. Hey, before we go, Andrew, any other future pep rallies, if you will, that the Spurs are going to be hosting that fans get involved? And I believe fans can also get lawn signs if they're pro Project Marvel, vote pro Prop A, Prop B. And I got it here. I think it's How SA Wins. Is that correct?
Yeah, howsawins.com is our website. Encourage your listeners and viewers to go check it out. There's a lot of information there. There's that frequently asked questions piece that you can share with your neighbors. And yes, you can contact us if you want a yard sign. We also have T-shirts. We're going to have some swag. We want people to get involved. And so our team will be out there. Again, we've been attending neighborhood meetings. You can also contact us there on the website to let us know if you want us to come talk to your civic group or your business. Again, we're just out there to provide information. And I can let you know a lot of folks in San Antonio, we always throw a huge national night out, which here is called San Antonio's Neighbors Together. And so that's in October. So we'll be out strong. We'll be out at those neighborhood meetings, meeting with your neighbors and providing information. We'll get the coyote out there. But yes, we're coming to a neighborhood near you. So be on the lookout for that. And please, if you would like us to come talk to you, or even if you're having a little cafecito, right? Or if you're throwing a barbecue for the next football game, invite us out. We'd be love to talk with you and your neighbors about Prop A and B.
You do that. They'll go to your house, everybody. But make sure you make some good barbecue, because Andrew's going to be wanting some good barbecue over there.
We can throw the first one at your place, Jeff.
There you go. I'm downtown, so I'm going to be like, all right, what restaurant can cater for me around here? That's what I'm going to be doing. By the way, Andrew, I'm pretty sure when people go to these pep rallies, sure, the Coyote's there and Peter J's there, but they're really there to see Andrew Solano, right? I know that, right?
Good, man. No, I've been doing this for a long time. It's always great to see neighbors. I still run into neighborhood president associations all the time. And so, no, it's great to be out there. Look, this is the fun part, right? Campaigns, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And so I love this piece of it, the outreach, getting to talk with you, getting to go out to these neighborhood meetings, having these rallies. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody's like this. I don't know if you've ever seen the Dave Chappelle skit where he's in a club and like some girl kind of wants to dance with him, but he kind of shoves her in the face like that. That's what fans do when they go to these pep rallies. The Coyotes all jumping around. They go, "No, Calvin, wait, where's Andrew? Where's Andrew? We're gonna go see Andrew."
Yeah, not true whatsoever when Manu walks in the ring.
Yes. Yeah, Manu walks in, it's done and done. Once again, he is Andrew Solano, Spurs political consultant. Andrew, you're also on X, is that correct?
Yeah. I had some comments last time I was on with you. Got to engage with some folks, and so I'm trying to be my better. I'm really showing my millennial side. I'm not on as much as I probably should be, but Jeff, you and your viewers are helping me do that. I got to interact with a bunch of people, so I really enjoy that.
Yeah. You have your X handle by hand?
I think it's just at Andrew Solano.
There you go. At Andrew Solano on X. Give him a follow. You have questions, he'll answer them directly to you, or if not, he'll get back to you very, very soon. So again, Mr. Andrew Solano, Spurs political consultant, coming up back here on Locked On Spurs to keep us updated on what's going on with Project Marvel and react to what the mayor had to say this past Monday. Andrew, once again, thank you so much for joining us here on Locked On Spurs. And everybody else, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every day. We'll be back tomorrow as the Spurs offseason continues. Don't forget to check out Locked On NBA. Go to YouTube, type in Locked On NBA, subscribe to it. It gets you up on all things NBA. So for Andrew Solano, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.